Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are strapping ourselves into, well, less an investigation and more just a desperate race against time, really. We're untangling this temporal knot of war.
Yeah, it's a self-perpetuating nightmare, isn't it? Fueled by, generations of hatred and some really bad choices.
Absolutely. Our source material lays out this interstellar geopolitical mess. You've got two major space powers, Emindar and Nimos.
Right, and they're locked in this super tense standoff, and it's all centered on this single, colossal, frankly mysterious alien derelict ship.
And just to make things more complicated, there's this huge visible tear in space-time, a vortex discontinuity spilling right into normal reality.
Exactly. So this isn't your standard sci-fi shoot 'em up. It's a war where the ghosts of the future, they're literally pulling the strings of the past.
Making the whole crisis basically inevitable, a loop.
Pretty much, yeah. The initial mission for our, let's say, travelers, it sounds simple enough at first. They need to navigate this chaos, figure out what this 4-kilometer-long alien thing is.
And find its exact coordinates, right, in real space and time.
Crucial. They need to stabilize the whole phenomenon before it just destroys everything around it.
Okay, let's unpack this. Before we even get to the conflict zone itself, we kind of have to start inside the Doctor's own control device.
The tortoise, yes.
Because this thing is, well, it's fundamentally impossible, incredibly powerful, and yet somehow, aesthetically, it's just profoundly British.
It really is. And that
Yeah.
initial description of the console room, it's kind of a necessary pause, I think. It sets the tone for the whole adventure. Brilliant tech wrapped up in absurdity.
You walk into this huge chamber, and the architecture is described as pure Victorian ironwork Gothic.
Yeah, like heavy industry meets divine structure. Or as one source puts it, Jules Verne meets Canterbury Cathedral.
It immediately tells you, doesn't it? The mechanics are way advanced, but the presentation is just wonderfully, deliberately archaic.
And the lighting, it's dim, relying on things like candelabra, torches, oil lamps, which apparently never need refueling.
Very convenient. Technology as high theater.
Exactly. And all this surrounds the main control board, which is hexagonal. It's not, sleek touchscreens.
No glass panels here.
No. It's a chaos of switches, levers, these brass-rimmed dials, multicolored lights like a Christmas tree selection. The displays are analog, like antique fruit machines.
Any modern engineer from, 3123, they'd look at that and just think it's junk. Impossible junk.
And yet somehow it works flawlessly. But the heart of it, the bit that really tells the story of time travel, is that central time rotor.
Right, the transparent cylinder, with the glowing blue rods going up and down, intermeshing.
Like stalactites and stalagmites.
Yeah.
Visually showing time being manipulated.
And it's from this console, this impossible room, that the Doctor detects the immediate, massive problem.
The vortex discontinuity.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For listeners maybe not deep into this universe's mechanics, the time vortex is basically the non-linear fabric of time and space.
And a discontinuity is a huge rip in that fabric.
A massive tear.
Yeah.
And it's not abstract either. It's visually terrifying.
Described as a flickering, coiling, writhing thing, like a rainbow-hued snake was on fire and shedding its burning skins.
Doesn't sound good, does it? That's not just some distortion. It looks almost alive. A piece of cosmic chaos that has an extension into normal space.
So the immediate goal isn't even to fix the whole thing.
No, it's way bigger.
Yeah.
The goal is tactical. Find the real space coordinates where this thing intersects with our physics. Establish a station point.
And that search leads them right into the middle of the crisis.
Yep. Temporal coordinates. Year 3180 and 23. Physical. Hundreds of light years from Earth. Right in the conflict zone, facing the interface point.
Which is the alien derelict itself. Okay, stage set. Far future. Big temporal problem. Let's focus on the big thing in the room, literally. That incredible alien artifact.
The derelict, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not just big, it's scale, its whole composition. It's inherently unsettling. It suggests tech that just shouldn't exist.
So how big are we talking?
Truly colossal. Over 4,000 meters long. So 4 kilometers. It's cylindrical, mostly dark matter floating out there.
And it's got that weird central feature.
Right. This projection, rising from the middle, described like a conical stack of variously sized plates. It gives it this vaguely repulsive, almost fungal look.
Like a tree stump smothered in bracket fungi. That's a very organic image.
It is. And the hull itself reinforces that feel. It's dull green, covered in this incredible texture of raised plates, scale-like slabs, nodules, branching pipes.
With hints of other colors. Maroon, brown, silver.
Yeah. It really doesn't look like it was built in a factory. It looks like it might have been grown.
And that biological feel extends to the ends, too.
It does. They're encircled by these massive flared rings or flanges, like giant bracelets. And from each ring, 8 tall spires or horns shoot out perpendicularly.
So you have this organic-looking hull, but then these sharp metallic spires. It's contradictory.
Deeply contradictory.
Huh.
Technology and nature just fuse together. But the biggest physical mystery is what they call the mystery mouth.
Right. One end is just hollow.
Completely hollow. A tunnel big enough for a supertanker. But inside, just fathomless blackness. It's not a pathway, it's an absence.
An absence of space itself.
And that absence leads to the critical discovery about its nature. The near end of the craft looks fuzzy, a bit out of focus.
And someone noticed stars shining through it.
Exactly, a crucial observation, which means a big chunk of the ship is actually extending into hyperspace.
Wait, hang on. So the ship isn't just near the discontinuity.
It is the discontinuity, or at least the anchor point. It's physically occupying 2 realities at once, part here, part in hyperspace.
Okay, that explains the interference field. And the danger. It's a ship literally anchored across dimensions.
Precisely.
Yeah.
A physical intersection. And of course, 2 major powers immediately want to fight over this incredibly dangerous artifact.
So we've got these 2 ships in a standoff, and their history just pours gasoline on the fire. First, the civilian ship, the Serendaria.
Registered on Emindar, GNC Line Star Cruiser. It's described as, the height of luxury. Slender, gleaming white hull, green and red stripes.
Big observation windows, domes with clants and water.
Yeah, it screams leisure, grace, speed. Carrying over 2,000 civilians. Importantly, some are Federation citizens. Captain Blanchard is in command. Her job 1 is passenger safety.
And opposing her.
The Nemosian warship, the Indomitable, commanded by Commander Vega. And the description is blunt. Fully armed frontline Nemosian warship. Built for war, not comfort.
And the history between Emindar and Nimos.
Terrible. Over a century of border skirmishes, minor wars. It's not a fresh dispute. It's ingrained generational hatred. There's zero goodwill between Vega and Blanchard.
And you see that right away, don't you? They're locked in this argument over salvage rights.
Immediately hostile. Vega sees military opportunity. Blanchard sees a civilian asset she has to protect.
Vega pushes the military angle, right? Basically threatens her.
Makes veiled threats, yeah. A liner is no match for a warship. But Blanchard, she cleverly uses her passengers, especially the Federation ones, as a kind of shield. Reminds Vega of the diplomatic incident an attack would cause.
So that initial confrontation just shows how badly both sides want this thing. National priority overrules everything else. Danger, stability, doesn't matter. Hashtag tag 1.3, the initial attempt and failure.
But all that political maneuvering kind of hits a wall pretty fast. They realize they can't actually get to the artifact.
Because of the interference field from the hyperspace effect.
Exactly. Both ships are stuck. They can't get close enough.
So Vega tries something drastic.
He does. Under pressure, the Indomitable sends down technician Arvel Curvin in a service pod. But they lower him on this special line.
A woven single molecule line.
Yeah, specifically designed to be immune to normal interference fields. Shows Nemosian tech is pretty advanced in its own right.
Curvin was supposed to be the best guy for the job, right? Hoping for retirement soon.
Ironic, isn't it? But once he gets close, the descriptions he sends back are deeply unsettling. He sees the hull's pipes and tubes up close.
And they look like branches, vines.
Dendritic, yeah. He actually wonders if the whole vessel was grown. Even this hardened engineer sees biology where there should be metal.
And then things go very wrong, very fast.
Very fast. Without warning, blue-white electrical discharges start arching between those tall spires ringing the hull. Huge, unstable energies.
But then the physics gets really weird. The ship's gravity shifts.
Radically. Curvin loses his footing. The surface just tilts violently until, as the source says, down was no longer where it had been.
His pod falls away, and he's sliding towards those arcing spires. The ship isn't passive, it's actively messing with space-time.
That's the key. It's not just junk floating there. It's an active machine manipulating fundamental forces, like gravity. Curvin tries to get his line, fails, slides towards the tunnel mouth, the arcing energy.
And he's presumed a loss.
Presumed lost, confirms the derelict is incredibly dangerous, and the interference isn't just static, it's an active temporal phenomenon, maybe even hostile.
A total failure. The military and diplomats are stumped. So now it's up to the Doctor and Sam to sneak onto the civilian ship and figure out what's really going on.
Exactly. And the Doctor knows. You can't just wander into a situation like this being all mysterious. You need cover. You need status.
Something that stops people asking awkward questions. Hashtag tag 2.1 acquiring status and identity.
So the TARDIS materializes right in the Serendaria's cargo hold. The sound is described as a harsh, throaty whir, then a thud.
And externally, it's still that battered British police box, very conspicuous, very out of place in 3123.
So first step, camouflage. They wrap the whole thing in binding tape, slap a replica cargo label on it.
Treating the most powerful time machine ever as just cargo? Brilliant misdirection.
It is. But the real cleverness is the identities. The Doctor whips up these incredibly sophisticated ID cards, faces, coded retina patterns, thumbprints, the works.
And he goes straight for the top tier, Federation moderator.
It's a TG's genius. A Federation moderator has virtually unlimited plenipotentiary powers. Basically, a high-ranking, impartial judge with authority to intervene in serious disputes.
So his sudden appearance isn't just tolerated, it's almost required.
Exactly. People defer, they don't question. Sam becomes Miss Jones, a high-level functionary. It's a power play.
As he says, if you're gonna be an imposter, impost in a big way. Gives him access to the captain, the bridge, the politicians, exactly where he needs to be. Hashtag 2.2, hacking the system.
But they need to be in the system, too. So off to the ship's library.
And the Doctor just sits at a terminal and types. Like a maniac.
Superhuman speed, apparently. Bypassing every security lock the ship has. The description is great. Like some wild musician playing a symphony of deception. The screen's flashing, protesting.
But he wins.
Total legitimacy. They're now officially passengers. Registered on Emindar, ordered 2 days ago at Renaris 5. They've got adjoining first-class cabins.
Maybe even an invite to the captain's table.
Potentially. Their cover story is now completely integrated into the ship's official records. Hashtag tag 2.3, the Emindian Directive.
While the Doctor's sorting out his 5-star accommodations, the politics on board are boiling over. Captain Lanchard versus Counselor Rexton.
Rexton. He's also a general in the Space Fleet Reserve, and he's pushing Lanchard hard. Stand fast, he keeps saying. Don't back down from the emotions.
And his argument relies on the passengers, the off-worlders.
Yeah, the human shield strategy, basically. He argues Nimos won't risk a major diplomatic incident by attacking a ship full of Federation citizens.
That's pretty ruthless. Using civilians as pawns.
It shows how high Rexton thinks the stakes are. He's obsessed with keeping this artifact out of Nemosian hands.
Lanchard pushes back, though. Wants to know why it's worth risking 2,000 lives.
Rexton won't say. Just that its highest priority and the security of Emindar itself may be at stake. He's hinting at something huge, way beyond just salvage rights.
And then he plays his trump card.
The emergency directive. From Emindar's president, powerfully. Orders Lanchard to stay, protect the claim, and assist Rexton, whose military rank is now reactivated.
Lanchard has to obey, right. Military officer, civilian command.
She agrees to follow orders to the letter. But, and this is crucial, so she adds a caveat, the moment she judges the ship to be in imminent danger, she's pulling out.
So everything hinges on her definition of imminent. That's a lot of pressure. Hashtag tag 2.4, celebrities, spectators, and the crowd.
And while all this high-stakes drama is unfolding, the passengers are treating it like, well, like a show. And they're focused on 2 celebrities on board.
First up, Don Del Rey.
The classic movie star. Tall, dark, handsome. Famous for stuff like the Black Star Squadron. He's giving these patriotic sound bites, stand firm on principle, you know. He's the image of heroism.
The projection of Emindian courage.
Exactly. And then there's Lysette Winter, the photographer.
She's looking for something more real, right? The human response.
Yeah, she's professional, focused, wants to capture the response in others that will put the spectacle into context. She actually wants to get close to the derelict. Notes its wonderful textural quality, the first contact potential.
And this gives the Doctor an opening.
A lever. Del Rey and Winter ask to join the boarding mission. Rexton initially says it's ridiculous.
But Lanchard sees the PR value. Del Rey keeps morale up. Winter documents things.
And the Doctor steps in, supports Lanchard, suggests Winter's photos could be useful documentation. Unless, of course, Rexton thinks there's something that should be kept secret.
Nice little prod there.
Forces Rexton's hand. He reluctantly agrees. And just like that, the Doctor and Sam are on the boarding party. Exactly what they needed.
Okay, so the boarding party is set. Rexton, Bendix, some crew, the Doctor, Sam, and our 2 celebrities, Del Rey and Winter, heading into a 4-kilometer machine that eats technicians. What could go wrong?
The danger is palpable, isn't it? But they need to understand this nexus point. Hashtag tag 3.1 gating entry.
They take the shuttle, the Doria, over to the derelict's central tower, and the interference is bad outside.
Severe crackling, yeah. Confirms Curvin's reports. Rexton tries the hatch controls. Nothing. Completely stumped by the alien lock.
And here comes the doctor's peculiar brand of genius.
While everyone else is expecting, I don't know, quantum entanglement locks, the doctor takes one look and says it's too simple. Quite absurd in the circumstances.
It's not complex crypto.
Nope. It's 6 stylized letters of the alphabet, rotated 90 degrees. Arranged correctly, they spell unlock. Sequence 342536.
He figures that out in seconds. What does that say about the aliens who built this thing?
Maybe they valued simple, elegant logic, maybe even musicality over paranoia. Who knows? But it works, they're in.
Into a big circular shuttle bay, 100 meters across, pale blue light.
And Rexton's first move, seal the outer hatch, code 4541, no motion pursuit.
Burning their bridges. Literally, hashtag
Yeah.
tag tech 3.2, the alien interior.
They move down a corridor, pass a big plaque, but the doctor says it contains no intelligence. Just decoration, maybe?
Yeah.
Context they can't read.
Not everything's a clue.
Right. And the corridor leads to the main event. A gallery looking down into this massive open shaft. Runs the whole length of the ship, up and down.
Clearly, the power system.
Oh, yeah. Even Manders, the engineer, says it's beyond anything she's ever seen.
What's it like inside the shaft?
Terrifyingly active, filled with massive glass or plastic conduits glowing with multicolored light. Metal grids, lenses, mirrors, all angled to shunt energy outwards.
The doctor realizes it runs right up the central tower.
Immediately. And Sam sees these blurry streaks of scintillating color running down into the darkness, like reflections on water. Dynamic, fluid, raw power.
Just standing next to the engine core of something incredibly dangerous. They keep going, though, looking for a control room.
Trying to find something that explains what this thing does.
Yeah.
Hashtag 3.3, the temporal experimentation room.
They follow a side corridor, ends up in a big semicircular room, inside one of those projecting fins on the outside.
And here, the doctor identifies the ship's most dangerous secret. He calls it an experimental hyperspatial bridge.
Experimental? That doesn't sound good coming from him.
No, he's immediately concerned, says elements look ill-conceived and quite unstable. And this is key. Unlike his TARDIS, which navigates the vortex carefully, this thing seems to be trying to manipulate raw temporal flux.
Unleashing time energy instead of guiding it.
Pretty much.
Sure.
The setup has this tube of silvery wire mesh running from the main shaft into an array of angled panels, a deflector array. Huge potential for things to go wrong.
And then something does go wrong. An external shock wave hits the derelict.
Which we later find out is the Nemozian relief shuttle blasting its way in. But the jolt is enough to trigger the unstable system.
The mesh conduit lights up green.
Splits into half a dozen beams that just stab out across the room into the machinery.
And Sam's right in the path.
Disaster. She tries to take cover, but one beam hits her square in the back. Lacey Winter catches it on camera. Sam is haloed in cold green fire.
The beam also hits a panel next to her, turns it to dust.
Powdery dust. Sam screams. Her suit just collapses. Empty. She's gone.
Vanished. How does the doctor explain that?
His analysis is instant and terrifying. Sam's body isn't just destroyed, it's gone from time. The panel that dusted. It was organic material. It got irradiated with a massive positive charge to maintain kinetic balance.
Kinetic balance, what's that?
Basically, to keep things stable when messing with raw time flux, the machine applies a charge. The beam was manipulating time, it was attuned to organic matter, and Sam got, well, flash-aged in reverse.
Yep.
Wiped from the timeline.
Not killed by energy, but annihilated by time itself. Okay, that's horrifying. Sam's just vanished. But the doctor doesn't freeze, does he? He has to act immediately.
It's an impossible moment. Mourn or try to fix it. He chooses to fix it.
Yep.
Hashtag 4.1, reversing the effect.
How? He just saw what that beam did.
He uses the logic he saw earlier, the simple unlock code. He figures the system must have a logical reversal sequence. It's a gamble, but
He reactivates the system, starts adjusting controls.
with incredible urgency, yeah. Makes tiny, precise adjustments. Conduit glows green again.
And Sam just reappears.
Miraculously, yes. White-faced, wide-eyed, back in her suit. She confirms she got zapped by the experimental alien gizmo. She's back.
That fast? That seems incredibly risky.
Huge risk. The sources imply that window for reversal is tiny. Seconds, maybe? Before the organic matter is just smeared permanently across time. And who knows if the reversal is even stable. He just played with raw temporal flux using, essentially, guesswork and a sonic screwdriver.
Is she okay? Any lasting damage from being, temporally annihilated and brought back?
Physically, she seems intact, amazingly. But the trauma, profound. It shows the doctor operating right at the edge, gambling with fundamental forces, but they don't get much time to process.
Because the shooting outside is now coming inside. Hashtag tag tag 4.2, the nature of the ghosts, shadow host.
Right. While they were dealing with Sam, the Nemosian relief team got in, and they didn't fare well.
The corporal reports their comrade looks like he was torn to pieces by some kind of animal.
Yeah. And then these entities turn on the Emindian party, and we get the full reveal of the shadow host.
They pour out of doorways like a nightmarish tide, described as mere phantoms lurking in the veil of shadow.
But they solidify, right, into many jointed arms, tentacles, and claws.
And the colors, constantly shifting. Hot blood red, bile yellow, decay green. Reflecting their nature, I guess. They're barely real.
And because they're barely real, conventional weapons are useless. Bullets, holes just slow back together, energy blasts pass right through.
They exist slightly out of phase with us.
Exactly. The only thing that works is the doctor's sonic screwdriver. He swings it like a talisman, and the field disruption makes them shiver like rippling water, forces them back momentarily.
So how do they work? What are they?
The doctor figures it out later. They're feeding off any organic life force, drawing power from the ship's lights, or, more effectively,
From living people, from us.
right, to increase their own level of existence, become more solid. That's why victims feel physically drained. Their connection to reality, their life force, is being stolen as fuel. Hashtag tag tag 4.3 Del Rey's fear and guilt.
And in that chaos, people get hurt. Lysette Winter gets snatched by a tentacle, vanishes,
And Don Del Rey, Mr. Hero.
gets knocked down, and immediately fakes a bad injury. Clutching his arm, yelling Lysette's name, it confirms his whole persona was a lie.
Back on the Cyrendaria, he's tormented by it. The sources show his internal confession. His heroism was always an act. He faked the injury to cover his cowardice, saved his reputation, possibly cost Lysette her life.
And this failure, this cowardice, it attracts the ghosts, doesn't it?
Immediately, he hears faint whining, snuffling, feels something brush his leg. The haunting has followed him back.
And then the ultimate psychological blow.
The word coward written on his bathroom mirror. In soap and water streaks, it's precise, personal. It strips away his entire facade.
This is critical, isn't it? The ghosts aren't just mindless energy, they're intelligent, malicious, preying on specific psychological weaknesses.
Suggests they have a consciousness linked to emotional pain. Maybe the pain of the passengers, or maybe the pain that created the ghosts themselves. Hashtag tag 4.4. The fight continues aboard the liner.
And the threat isn't contained on the derelict either. A ghost gets onto the Cyrendaria.
Into the engine room, described as a gray cloud of mist, twisting and writhing. And it's not just floating around, it's sabotage.
Tampering with monitor panels, trying to seize control of the bridge repeaters.
Yes, it wants to steer the Cyrendaria right into the derelict. Force the collision Lantern feared.
Manders, the engineer, has to act fast. Cuts the circuit directly.
Stops the ghost controlling the ship, but now they're adrift, on a collision course anyway. It's a mess.
And Sam and the doctor arrive with the new gadget.
The normalizer, a modified hand torch, creates a distortion field.
To fight phantoms. How?
It makes the ghost temporarily substantial and stable enough to be hit by Bendix's standard energy bolts.
So technology can fight them by manipulating your phase state.
It works, confirms the principal, but the creature is only presumed neutralized, maybe just disrupted. They can slow the haunting, but they haven't stopped the source. The fundamental threat is still there.
Okay, the situation is just spiraling. The ship's haunted, adrift, stuck in a standoff. The doctor realizes they need to understand the origin point, right? Break the loop.
Exactly. He convinces the key players, including Vega, who's now seen enough to believe the temporal threat is real, to go with him. Through the hyperspatial corridor in the derelict. Hashtag tag 5.1, the journey to Emindar.
So the team heads through. The doctor, Sam, Vega, Rexton Del Rey, and Lysette Winter, who the Nemosians apparently captured.
Right. The journey through the corridor is described as an endless agony of dislocation. Then they burst out, landing inside a cavern where the other end of the derelict rests.
They navigate some tunnels and come out into open space. And that's when they see it.
The horrific truth. Bendix, the Emindian officer, recognizes it first. We're home. This is Starport on Emindar, Cyrendaria's home port.
But it's a ruin, shattered glass, bent docks, corpses everywhere.
Desiccated corpses. Then they fly up, see the main planet, Emindar. It's not the jewel it was. Oceans gray, forests brown, scarred by total planetary war.
And the doctor confirms the time frame.
A little over 20 years in the future, Emindar was destroyed. Radioactive, chemical, biological weapons. In the war with Nimos. A war that ended just 1 year after the present they just left.
And Nimos
Suffered even worse. Became uninhabitable. It wasn't just losing a war. It was mutual planetary suicide. all triggered by that century of hate, fighting over salvage rights. That fight was just the spark that lit the fuse for their own self-destruction. Hashtag 5.2, the ghostly survivors.
And then comes the deepest shock. They're met by two figures, pale as wraiths in uniform.
Future Captain Lanchard and future Commander Veda. The people currently commanding the fleets are ghosts here, 2 decades later.
And they explain the loop.
Heartbreakingly, the real Cyrendaria from their time arrived here 20 years ago, found the derelict, realized they were trapped in this dead future, unable to die properly.
So they use the time-space bridge in the derelict.
In a desperate attempt to go back, warn themselves, change the past, but in doing so, they inadvertently became the temporal anomaly, the ghosts starting the whole cycle. They're trapped. No before or after, just now.
That explains the shadow host then.
The insane host are the other survivors from the Cyrendaria, and maybe the Nemosian ships too, driven mad by the temporal displacement, the horror. They broke free, attack everyone, even themselves. They're just raw, destructive pain.
And the armed ghosts, the controlled ones.
They're the future crew and Marines, Lanchard and Vega's people, still fighting the insane host.
But look at their weapons.
Nets, tridents, clubs, made from stuff salvaged off the Cyrendaria. Why so primitive?
Because those familiar items, things from their own ship, their own past, still feel solid to them in their phase-shifted state. It's tragic. They're using fragments of their past stability to fight the madness of their present.
And in this ruined future, Don Del Rey finally steps up. Sam finds Lysette, captured by a psychotic survivor.
Squad leader show, yeah. Del Rey confronts his own ghost, confronts his cowardice,
and sacrifices himself.
draws the insane host's attention, gives Lysette the chance to escape. A genuinely brave act, not a performance. His ghost form appears briefly, says, "We had to get it right this time," suggesting his death was a deliberate choice to try and change things, just for Lysette.
A tiny ripple. And that final detail, the low, gray, dog-like form at his heels before vanishing. Maybe a final fragment of loyalty, confirming his shift from fraud to hero, even if the cosmic impact is small. Hashtag Fab 5.3, political reactions and final attempts.
Seeing their future annihilation.
Wow.
How do the leaders react? Rexton.
Shattered, but defiant. He refuses to accept it's fixed. His duty, he says, is to stop Emindar becoming that dead world. His plan. Seize the alien ship, take it home, revolutionize warfare.
So he learns they lose the war, and his reaction is, try to win the war harder using the alien tech, not save lives, but control power.
Exactly. It reveals the core flaw. Meanwhile, Vega is fully convinced. He tries to warn his fleet.
But the Nemosians have reinforcements now, under Admiral Mokai.
Yeah, a whole battle group. Mokai and the Emindian fleet commander Sternby, they're locked in this standoff. The warning from the future. It just doesn't penetrate the century of ingrained hatred. Accepting the truth means admitting their whole conflict was pointless self-destruction. They can't do it.
And while this galactic tragedy unfolds back on the present-day Cyrendaria, there's this awful personal explosion. Lester Plecht and his wife, Rhonda.
Yeah, the temporal stress, the pressure, it pushes people over the edge. Lester's been living under Rhonda's psychological thumb.
She gets jealous of another passenger, Ingrid Skalander.
Fears Lester's interest, yeah. And in a fit of rage, Rhonda just stabs Ingrid to death. Brutal.
But Lester's reaction is key, isn't it?
It is. Seeing Rhonda's callousness, maybe years of resentment boiling over, he snaps. Savagely assaults Rhonda, leaves her for dead, and flees.
It's a mirror, isn't it? Rhonda's tyranny, like the geopolitical greed. Lester's violence snapped, like the fleet's self-annihilation.
Perfect parallel. The source material shows the seeds of self-destruction were always there, big scale and small scale. The temporal crisis just lit the match.
And then there's Lieutenant Rask Chen on the Nemosian ship getting visions.
Hallucinations, they think. Of a man-shaped shadow with a missing arm, he gets relieved of duty for reporting it.
But it's real. It's his brother, Talek.
Who later loses his arm in the final battle. Rask Chen wasn't hallucinating, he was getting a future echo. Proof the future isn't just fixed, it's actively bleeding back into the present, influencing people's minds. Devastating fatalism.
Okay. The future's known, the warnings are ignored, the conflict just barrels towards the inevitable end. Rexton thinks the derelict is the key to saving his world.
While the fleet still see it as the key to winning their pointless war. Hashtag 6.1. The point of no return.
Rexton and Bendix sneak back into the derelict's control room on the future side.
Rexton uses those control functions he secretly photographed earlier. Pure ambition driving him. He wants to seize the ship, translocate it home, use its weapons for Emindar.
And outside, the fleets are finally going at it.
Full battle erupts. Commodore Sternby, the Emindian, is now convinced by Vega. orders his fleet to destroy the derelict, to deny it to Nimos. Admiral Mokai Nemosian is trying to secure it. Missiles, energy beams everywhere.
And Rexton succeeds. He activates the ship.
He does. Hits the translocation panel, boosts the power, gravity shifts, warp fields concentrate. The whole 4-kilometer derelict starts to move, plowing right through the middle of the battle.
An act meant to save Emindar, but it just ensures total destruction. Hashtag tag 6.2, the Nexus event and collision.
Rexton's moment of control is incredibly brief. A blazing wreck doesn't matter whose Emindar or Nimos scrapes the hull. Massive damage inside that central tower shaft.
The same place Sam got hit.
Exactly. Rexton and Bendix are caught in a primary polarized temporal energy wash. Bendix disintegrates. Suit shreds, body turns to ash. Gone.
And Rexton
Falls, kicking and screaming right down that central energy well. Consumed by the very power he tried to control.
The Doctor sees this, sees the fleet still fighting, and realizes
It's hopeless. They'll fight till annihilation. The hate is too strong, the loop too tight.
So he makes his final move. The TARDIS shield effect disrupts the Ghost's phase link.
Right. His plan is to amplify that field massively, use a huge power boost from the TARDIS, and just sterilize the whole area, destroy the ghosts, break the connection, sever the loop.
But before he can fully deploy it,
Rexton's runaway derelict appears. Head-on collision course with the Cyrendaria. Lanchard and Vega can do nothing. Impact is imminent.
the paradox peaks, and the Doctor unleashes the TARDIS power.
Huge energy surge flows along the time-space corridor, hits the Doctor's field, interacts with the collapsing derelict, and the imminent collision. Hashtag 6.3, the aftermath and paradox.
And the result?
Definitive. The Doctor and Sam materialize 1 year later. Just debris. An indomitable hull plate drifting past. Total annihilation. Not a single ship survived. They fought to the last breath, exactly as the ghosts warned.
He shows the time track on the TARDIS ceiling, the loops.
Yeah. Multicolored bow, red loop for the alien ship, dark green for the original Cyrendaria, pale green for the phase-shifted one, and the horrible realization the cycle isn't actually broken.
Why not? They're all destroyed.
Because the future Cyrendaria, the ghost ship with Lanchard and Vega, will still arrive at Dead Emindar, 20 years from its start. It will find the derelict, now repaired by time or whatever, and the ghosts will try to warn the past, starting the loop all over again. It persists.
Oh, wow. So no hope then?
A sliver. A tiny one, rooted in human choice, not tech. Remember Don Del Rey?
His sacrifice for Lysat.
His ghost, confirming they had to get it right this time. That act, the Doctor explains, proved the Nexus isn't perfectly stable. Del Rey caused a tiny change on a cosmic scale. By influencing his past self, choosing courage, swapping his life for hers, that tiny act of heroism, combined with the interaction between the Doctor's field and Rexton's energy surge, it shifted things slightly.
Shifted them, the Doctor and Sam.
Projected them forward a year, and slightly closer to Emindar than they should have been. It means the next cycle won't be exactly the same. The core war, the destination, probably immutable. But the fine details, who lives, who dies, maybe who finds the derelict first, they've been nudged. A tiny victory against destiny. Hashtag outro.
Wow. Okay. We started this deep dive thinking, standard sci-fi mystery. Alien ship, temporal weirdness.
And ended up inside this horrifying closed loop of time. 2 decades of planetary destruction feeding itself.
And it was all triggered by, really, 2 things working together, wasn't it? The big picture political hatred between Emindar and Nimos, personified by Rexton and Vega.
And the small-scale personal flaws.
Yeah.
The tyranny of Rhonda, the cowardice of Del Rey. The political conflict created a future so awful, their future selves got trapped trying to prevent it.
And in doing so, they became the ghosts that caused it all in the first place.
The ultimate bootstrap paradox.
And that detail about the energy source, the Doctor speculate the only thing powerful enough to fuel this might be the energy released when identical bodies meet.
The implication there is just profound. And awful. The future ghosts fighting their past selves to try and break the loop.
They were actually creating the power that trapped them. Their survival instinct fueled the cycle.
For decades. But then there's Del Rey. The quiet shift in him. One man's genuine act of courage. Self-sacrifice, not performance.
It managed to nudge the timeline just a tiny bit when entire fleets of ghosts failed.
It suggests that maybe the big future, the annihilation caused by that deep institutional hatred, maybe that is inevitable. But the small-scale stuff, the ethical core, human character, maybe that's still slightly mutable.
So if the future is only minimally changeable, it leaves us with a question, doesn't it? For you listening. We analyze the huge failures of entire civilizations here. But we saw that galactic tragedy could be infinitesimally altered by one person overcoming their own fear. So what small, single choice are you making today? That tiny decision may be rooted in genuine courage, not just going through the motions. Could that choice, however small it feels, determine the essential character of tomorrow?